time. We fill our lives with it. But what if I told you that life wasn't about running the clock? What if I told you that you could take time out of the center of your life and pause it? Pause it right there and look at something else that we so often forget. We forget about what our priorities should really be. This is a demonstration of taking a second look of what we should consider important. I would argue that time is not as important as your priorities. Priorities are something we so often need to adjust. So what are you filling your life with? With me I have a cup of rocks, pebbles, soil, and water. These are just simple elements, but with this demonstration they become much more. I have taken the rocks out from this glass and put them into the container. As you can see, the container is full of rocks. This container, if you haven't already guessed, represents your life. For example, take this cup of rocks. These rocks represent the big things, the most important things in your life, the things you probably spend the most time on. So have you considered what the rocks in your life are? As we look at these rocks and how they represent the most important things, the real important things come down to family and other loved ones. What big things have you put in place of those priorities? Taking a look at the next item, we see the pebbles. These pebbles represent the things that are important in your life that you need to learn, even survive, but they do not take the place of family or other loved ones. What happens when we put these pebbles in the container with the rocks? This previously filled container of pebbles represents things like work, school, or other volunteer commitments. Now we can take a look at the soil. If you haven't already guessed the pattern, yes, this is the next most important thing in our lives. I labeled this category as sports, clubs, or other hobbies that we might have. Although the jar is pretty packed, believe it or not, there is still room for the soils in our lives. This container, representing the sports, clubs, and other hobbies, has been filled with soil. As you can see, the whole container has been packed. Every layer of soil has penetrated each layer of rock and pebbles, even though the container looked full already. So where does this leave us? With a bunch of empty cups and a dirty container? No. Look a little closer. Can you imagine if I would have filled this container first with dirt? How in the world would I have filled those pebbles into? I wouldn't have been able to. What if I would have filled the container first with pebbles? Would I have been able to fit the rocks in? Definitely not. They would have fallen out all over the top and would have never fit in my life completely. The point is, if we prioritize correctly in our lives, we usually have time to fit in the things that really matter. And if you fill your lives with things like hobbies or even work in school, you will never find time for the really important things. Now I know what you're all wondering. So what's with the glass of water? What is the water? The water is the biggest question, and it makes you think. Well, guess what? The water represents God. God wants us to have full, complete lives. He wants us to have things like family, work, school, hobbies, sports. But He is the ultimate glue that molds us all together. And when we have Him in our lives, all of our plans will be glued and held together by His grace because He loves us. Let's be honest, if we didn't have God in our lives, nothing would come together like it's supposed to. So just remember that your life is a gift. Don't waste it.